Hey guys, welcome back. We're doing part 2 of this series called The Context of Creation. And in this series, or in this video, we're doing Pure and Undefiled Dominion. And this is taken from the second section of chapter 3 called Distorting Dominion. And that is because people, and specifically in the Torah community, they twist this concept of dominion. And it doesn't really happen in Christianity, because a lot of people realize that most of the time in Christianity, people accept that the creation account does depict humans and animals eating plants. They take Genesis 1 for what the text actually says in verses 28 and 29 and 30, I mean. And but in the Torah community, there seems to be a lot of confusion about what it means to have dominion. And so in this video, my hope is to sever that confusion. And you're going to find that Yahweh's directive, the Creator's, his directive to dominate, it was established as means of protecting the animals, being a good steward. Okay, it wasn't. It was not meant to authorize killing them. That is not what dominion means. Okay. And if nothing else, it's a command that does reflect the role of a good shepherd or a priest or a steward, okay? It establishes the Father's expectation for mankind to display their good leadership. And so that's what we're going to look at today. And one of the verses that I wanted to start with is Genesis 1, 27 and 28. It says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Replenish the earth. Subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." So in this video, we're going to look at two words. Dominion is the focus, but also this word here, subdue. That's another one that people use to say that we were given a license to kill these animals. So we're going to look at that also. And one thing that I found was really neat is that the word for dominion, it is to rule, govern, or oversee. And here's the Hebrew here. It describes the priestly roles of humans as stewards over the animal kingdom. And I'm going to blow up the screen just a little bit more so you can see. I was reading an article yesterday. I thought this was so neat. And I'll put the link to this article in the description of the video. And this writer here, it has Genesis 1:28, have dominion over everything. And they say, as I looked at all the modern Christian translations of the Bible, I find that without exception, every one of the translations follows the common teaching that the word yeredu comes from the root word rada, which means dominion, subdue, rule over, or to tread upon like a wine press. Yet, and this is where it gets interesting, many years ago, an old Orthodox rabbi taught me that the root word was not rada, but yarad, which means to lower yourself or come down to the level of another. So I think that's really interesting. I'll go ahead and read the rest. It says, "Since that time, I have read numerous stories of rabbis and sages who have communicated with animals through yeredu, lowering themselves from their lofty position to listen to the message of the lowly animals." And I think that's really neat, because you really do find that when you stop, you slow down, and you start observing animals, and you get to know their personalities, their nature, then that's when you can appreciate them. When you do this lowering yourself and not think that you were put here to kill these animals. When you do this, when you follow this Yeredu, then you truly can appreciate the animals and understand what it means to have dominion, to be a good steward, to be a priest according to design, not a priest according to the man-made Levitical laws given to the Levites, to Moses, not according to that system, according to what mankind was given in the garden. And so this is a short article. I will put the description in, or I'll put the link in the description. It's only about 3 or 4 paragraphs, but it was just a really quick, neat read. And I think some of you would appreciate that. Let's go ahead and go on. So I got this passage up here now. It's Ecclesiastes. And this is really cool because it seems to describe the fallen state of mankind over the course of time. You know, even though humanity was expected to rule over the animals, our condition as humans, it's degenerated over the years. We've compromised our status of superiority. We've distorted this dominion. So I'm going to read this real quick. It says, I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalls the sons of men befalls beasts. Even one thing befalls them, as one thing dies. As the one dies, so dies the other. They have all one breath, and that's something we went over in the last video, so that a man has no preeminence above a beast. That's really good, guys. For all is vanity. All go to one place, all are of the dust, all return to the dust. Again, who knows the spirit of man that goes upward and the spirit of the beast that goes downward to the earth? And that's in chapter 3, verse 18 through 21. I thought that was really good. It's interesting that the writer would say that because it's like, what happened? Where is the dominion that people talk about today? Where's the dominion over the animals? The instructions given to Adam. They were much simpler. The commands given to Adam. It's not like that extensive list given to Moses thousands of years later. When you look at the original Torah, it enabled mankind to live in that same divine manner as our Creator. It was the same image that was originally meant for humanity. And it included dominion. Of course, Adam and Eve, they broke that agreement. It complicated things. When Adam and Eve sinned, the fall of man. Now, when you look forward to the time that the law of Moses was given, the behaviors of mankind, they progressed, or degraded, I should say. Okay? They could no longer be governed by the same instructions of the garden life. All right? The state of mankind during the time of the Exodus, it required further instructions. It addressed multiple behavioral changes. Okay? So if our Creator changed the way he dealt with mankind, it wasn't because he changed. It was because mankind changed. All right? And so I bring this up because a lot of people say, well, God doesn't change. And so his laws for Israel, they can't be any different than his laws for Adam and Eve. And so that's one mentality that people use to say that Adam and Eve were given all of the laws of Moses. They were expected to kill a lamb for Passover, things like that. Things that wouldn't even make sense for Adam and Eve to do on the timeline. You know, so like I said, they say the laws for Adam and Eve can't be any different than the laws given to Moses. But if you understand that it was because of our behavior as humans then you can easily see that we are the ones who changed, not the Creator. So his response to the Israelites, to Israel, the people who came out of Egypt, it was different than his relations with Adam and Eve in the garden. And you really need to understand this, because the mistake is to approach the creation account in the context of future events, which is what a lot of people are doing. And that's why they distort dominion. Okay? We discussed this in the last video. The most hermeneutical method is to re-examine the future events, Sinai, the law of Moses, the wilderness. Look at those events through the lens of the creation account. Don't do it backwards. Okay? I see people today, they all claim to be context kings, and they fail to adhere to this elementary principle for interpretation. Instead, they look at the creation account through the lens of Sinai and the wilderness. But if we honestly considered the relationship between humanity and animals, it really is difficult to think that we were designed to kill and eat the flesh of their kind, okay? Really, we get an entirely different picture when we read through the creation account. We're going to look at some things. It's going to be really neat some of you are going to see things that you've never seen before in the story, in the Bible, in the book of Jubilees, okay? Humans were able to communicate with the beasts of the earth, like on a more personal level, okay? The animals were created. They even had the ability to speak, okay? Look at this. On that day was closed the mouth of all beasts. This is talking about after the fall. It's looking at different curses, okay? Consequences for disobedience, okay? And it says that the mouths of all beasts were closed. Cattle, birds, whatever walks, whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak, for they had all spoken one with another, with one lip, with one tongue. Okay? Animals communicated with humans in the same native tongue prior to the fall. And this is just kind of a bonus, but the original language, it is Hebrew. According to Jubilees, it is the tongue of creation. So I thought I'd just add that just to let you guys know. So, and here I have here, it says, through this, you can begin to see the civil environment that humans and animals were expected to coexist together and thrive, per their instructions to be fruitful and multiply. Okay, so, and a lot of people have come to this understanding. They know this part of the story. Advocates of the book of Jubilees, they get it. They read this part. But some of the same people, even though they read about this environment where humans and animals had a civil relationship as sentient beings who could communicate with one another, they still try to say that, well, no, the animals were meant to be killed and eaten. Okay, so there's just really a lot of problems. It's in total contrast to design. And if you consider that Adam developed relationships with the animals, then you'll understand that it couldn't have been, the circumstances could not have been. I mean, morally, logically, it is impossible for the creator of these humans and animals to have expected humans to kill and eat the animals. It's a picture that doesn't make sense. You have to be what the writer Paul described as a reprobate mind. Your mind really has to be twisted, or you depraved. You have to be fallen enough to think that way. If you think the God, the creator of these beings, expected humans to turn around, kill, and eat the animals that he had a relationship. That's no different than me turning around and killing my best friend and eating him. It's no different than cannibalism, and especially in this environment where humans and animals were really the same status. Okay, I'm not elevating animals above humans, but like the Hebrew said here, what we looked at earlier, humans really do need to lower themselves to get on that same level as animals so that we can appreciate them. Because the Bible and Jubilees really does describe that type of environment where everybody was equal. Okay? Now, mankind was given the role to oversee this or to lead these animals, to be a steward, a shepherd over them. But that doesn't mean he's better than them. They're still beings with free will. They want to live. They have a personal identity. Okay? And it's neat that they all spoke the same language. And this gets even neater, is that Adam named each animal, in the language that they both shared. Okay, it says, out of the ground the Lord God, Yahuwah, formed every beast of the field, every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all the cattle, the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmeet for him. Okay, and then in Jubilees it says, Adam named them all by their respective names, as he called them, so is their name. Okay, I think this is neat that it doesn't just say he called the cows cows. Right here it says to all cattle. Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air. It's almost like it's telling you that he gave each cow a name. Jeff, Bob, Derek. Okay, look at that. It's just like naming your dog or cat. I think it's just as possible that naming each animal went further than coming up with the general name for animal kind, but rather specific names for marking the personal identity of each one. My name is Andy. This cow's name is Bob. Okay? It's just like that. And I think that that's the way it seems to depict it right here, because it says Adam gave names to all cattle. It's like he lined up all the cattle and he said, all right, I'm going to name each one of you. All right. So, and here I ask, does this sound like an environment where the Creator demanded humans to kill the animals? It doesn't. How can you get that? Here we go. I'll read this here in a second. But so basically we get a deeper look at Adam's involvement with the different creatures of the earth, his dominion over the animals. It was more than a license to kill at his discretion. Okay? His role was one of personal relationship, leadership. It was about being a good steward over everything placed under his care. Guys, that makes so much more sense than saying, oh, dominion means to kill and eat these creatures. And like I said, you have to be a reprobate to think that. Okay? The nature in which Adam was created, it gave no thought to sacrificing an animal to satisfy his appetite. All right? He didn't have the hunter mentality that's described as a part of like Nimrod's background. He was known as a mighty hunter. That's not what we get when we look at Adam. I mean, from all the available texts, we can be certain that the idea of hunting or killing animals, it was foreign to Adam's reality and the garden life. Okay? And I know a lot of people, they're going to argue that vegans ignore the commands described in Leviticus. And again, like I said, you got to understand the time frame of Leviticus. It didn't occur until thousands of years later. In the garden, there was no thought of eating animals. So sacrificial laws, they were inapplicable during the time of creation. And meat eaters, they seem to neglect that these animals that Adam named, they were created to fellowship with humans, not to feed us. Okay, so we're going to take a deeper look at Genesis 1:28 so that we can dispute this notion that it promotes death. Okay, God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish. All right, so like I said, it's becoming really popular to explain these words, subdue, dominion, in terms of force or aggression or violence, terms of war. Okay, and a lot of people, they'll go find other variants of these words in the Bible, and they will say, see, this word means it's used in terms of war here, or this and that. So they'll find variants and they'll say that proves that dominion and subdue are about killing the animals. Guys, that's, especially these context kings, what are you doing? You know better than to do that. Anyway, this passage, it's people are just, they're approaching it with under this persuasion of animal sacrifice instead of recognizing it as an instruction for good stewardship. It's explained as a license to kill. You can't do that. And one of the questions asked, did the writer entertain any of these ideas, this concept that people read into the text today? Was he thinking in terms of violence, death, killing, and eating? And I mean, there are so many reasons why it doesn't work. I mean, where are the instructions for sacrifice? Where are the restrictions for clean and unclean? Where are all the guidelines? I mean, eating is a major part of the commands of Torah, and people agree. And that's why there are so many people on Facebook who are bashing Christians for eating pork when they're still eating all the other animals. It's like they understand that our diet is a major part of Torah, our instructions, what we put into our body. But it's like that all just goes away when they're looking at the creation account. It's like, if it is that such a big deal, then where are all of these sacrificial instructions, these guidelines for kosher meats, clean animals? Okay. Instead, the only instruction we have for eating, because it was this simple, is that I give you the plants, the fruits to eat. To you, these shall be food. It's that simple. Okay? So it's irrational to think the writer was alluding to killing or eating the animals. Okay? Okay, I got notes here. People believe subdue is also a license to kill. But that's one thing to notice, is that it's actually about the earth. This word subdue, people apply it to the animals. But if you read, it says replenish the earth and subdue it. Subdue the earth. Okay, whether he's talking about, the just taking care of the ground, the garden, it does look like it's in reference to the earth and has nothing to do with the animals, because he goes on to say, have dominion over the animals. So replenish and subdue the earth, have dominion over the animals. See how that works? So if you're going to use this word subdue, realize that it doesn't even apply to the animals. If you're going to say, oh, that's a term of war, violence, no. I mean, if that's the case, it makes sense that, hey, it's in reference to the earth. Do what you want with these plants. Do what you want with the fruit. They're yours to eat. They don't feel pain. Nothing has to bleed in order for you to utilize plants to your benefit, okay? That would make sense. What doesn't make sense is here are some friends who bleed, who have the breath of life. Now kill and eat them. Go against their free will to live. Do what you want with them. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so let's move on. Here we go. More notes. I've put some of these statements up here just for you guys to read yourself if you want. If subdue and dominion are instructions to kill and eat the animals, then it completely violates the Torah instructions for the animals to be fruitful and multiply. By killing animals, we violate the free will of animals. We come between their instructions and we prevent them from fulfilling their commands. That's a big deal, guys. If we kill and eat animals, we prevent them from obeying their instructions from creation. Okay, and what are those instructions? God said, abundant with the moving creatures, where's that? Be fruitful and multiply. He's talking about the beasts, the fish, fill the waters, let the fowl multiply in the earth. That was the Creator's will, that these animals would be able to be fruitful and multiply. There is nothing fruitful about killing these animals. It does the opposite. It prevents them from multiplying. And I know a lot of people say, well, they were commanded to be fruitful and multiply so that there would be an abundance for us to kill and eat. Wrong. It doesn't make sense. Okay? The theme of creation is life, abundance, being fruitful, multiplying. Man and animals, we were all commanded to thrive in this way, to interact with one another in a civil manner. And the context, it's abundantly clear, guys. Animals and humans coexisted together. We cooperated with one another. Animals and humans understood the explicit instructions about the food that was designed to feed us. And this is where a growing number of people have resorted to eisegesis. Not only with the dominion, not only with the subdue, these words, but these teachers whose entire ministries revolve around the context and hermeneutics, they are neglecting the very context itself in efforts to import this sacrificial system into the creation account. They fail to recognize the purpose for the Levitical laws. They don't even know that they were meant to limit and create boundaries over their killing. They think it's something God established because he wants it. They think he was saying, do this stuff, when really he was putting fences up around their behavior. So not only do they have the purpose of Mosaic law, they have that wrong, and because they have it wrong, they think God loves it, and that's why they drag it into the creation account. So that's why they look for ways to interpret Genesis 1 in favor of eating animals. And this is where it gets really ugly, is when we look at the clear and concise instructions for what food was given to us, what we were supposed to eat, what was meant to be food for humans and animals. This is where it just gets ugly. And God said, behold, he's talking to Adam here, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, every tree and every fruit of the trees yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. Okay? And then he turns around to the animals and he says, to every beast of the earth, to every fowl of the air, to everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. God saw everything. He said it was good. Why was it good? Because nothing had to die in order to eat. Okay? Adam and Eve were placed in a garden, not a slaughterhouse. They were specifically instructed to eat the fruit of the trees, and animals were instructed to eat the green herbs. Okay? And then here, for you guys, it's difficult to imagine a creator with a perfect moral nature who designed humans and animals with similar attributes of life, including blood life, the breath of life, consciousness, sentience, the will to live, okay? But then he turned around and commanded humans to kill and eat these creatures against their will. It's contrary to the nature of a life-giving creator. Okay? It's evident. Plant life was created as food for both humans and animals. So even if subdue and dominion are such harsh words, if they imply this forceful relationship between humans and animals, it doesn't change the fact that nothing in this passage even hints towards the concept of killing or eating these creatures. It's eisegesis at best, because it forces an idea on the narrative that is absent from the text, okay? So a contextual look, when you look at the story in the context of creation, that's enough to dispel the notion that we were created to be carnivores, okay? There's no sacrifice in the garden. All right, and let's go back real quick. I want to look at this, just point out a few things. I'm probably going to dive more into these points in the next video, but here's what people do. The people that I've heard explain this, they say that, you know, how we looked at this in this verse 29, he's talking to Adam. In verse 30, he's talking to the animals. He's saying, God said, behold, I've given you the fruit trees. And then he turns around to the animals and he says, and to every beast of the earth, I've given the green herbs for food. Okay? What people do is they say, well, really these words here and to shouldn't be in the text. They say, if you just take those words out, then you can see that it's not an instruction to Adam and then an instruction to the animals. It's all an instruction for Adam to eat the animals. So if you read it and you pull words away, he's saying to you, the trees shall be food, and every beast of the earth shall be food, and every fowl of the air shall be food. You see what they do? Here's the problem. If that is the case, if God was saying every beast of the earth is food for you, and this is how you checkmate these people who are perverting the moral nature of God, who are eisegeting the text, this is their checkmate. If what you're saying is true, and God was talking to Adam here, and he was saying, I'm giving you every beast of the earth, well, every beast includes pigs. All right? It includes rabbits, all of these animals that you say are unclean. Well, look, then I guess we're allowed to eat pigs, because according to your interpretation, we were given every beast of the earth. We were given every fowl of the air, okay? Everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every. That means we can go have a lobster dinner, okay? If what you're saying is true. And it's, to me, it's so ironic that, like, people, even in Torah, because a lot of these people who are perverting this, who are using this, who use this eisegesis, this interpretation, it's like they know the clean, unclean system, but yet they still use that interpretation here. They fail to recognize that every beast of the earth, if what you're saying is true, it completely destroys your allegiance to this clean, unclean system. It's like, what do? You can't. That's why it's checkmate, because what you're saying makes absolutely no sense in light of this Mosaic law, this clean, unclean system. So, I don't know. It only makes sense if the text means what it says. If he was speaking to humans here, saying, Adam, your food is the fruit trees, and then he turns around and says to the animals, your food's the herbs. Okay, I've given you both plants. All right. So we're going to move on. I might skip forward a little bit. In this chapter, I talk about how people want to say veganism is a part of pagan religions. I did a video on that, so I won't get into that here. Yep, I talked about that already. The garden, they were put in a garden. I mean, it just makes sense. A garden is a place where fruit and vegetables are grown, a place where the green herbs and the fruit-bearing trees are the primary feature. The Creator encouraged them to eat freely of every tree. So if it was his intention for humans to eat animals, then it's just curious why he put them in a place called the garden. If that was the central realm for humans and animals to occupy, okay, nothing about their circumstances suggests that they were expected to eat animals. Actually, it's the opposite. Every directive in the creation account depicting food for Adam is in reference to the vegetation of the earth. There are absolutely no references to eating animals in the story in this creation account, okay? So if we were to say that it's against design to submit to a plant-based diet, and that's what a lot of people say. Well, it's not even, we were designed as omnivores, okay? Humans were designed to eat plants and animals. But I mean, if that's the case, then we got to question a lot of other men, a lot of these other people in the Bible, Daniel, and then, the Essene group, the Essene sect of Torah observers who John the Baptist, Yeshua, they were a part of these vegetarian groups, okay? I mean, you can't say that it is against design. It's against Torah to be a vegan or a vegetarian. It's not. It is the Torah. It is our instructions. It is what we were commanded to do. Okay? So let's move on. I mean, it's one thing to say that God allowed mankind to eat animals based on other parts of the Bible. Like people jump to Genesis 9 and they'll say, I mean, that's what I'm saying is that's one thing to believe that, but to say that carnivorism is present within the creation account, I mean, it just takes the argument to another level of ridicule. I mean, it is. I mean, I think most Bible believers who eat animals, they are aware that Genesis 1 poses a problem to the carnivorous lifestyle. So that's why they jump to Genesis 9:3. They jump to later parts of the Bible. Now, it's harder when you get to the Torah community. And this is why I say Christians are easier to talk to about veganism or the plant-based, the garden diet, the biblical garden diet, because they do see that, hey, that is how we were created. Their problem is that they just jump to later parts of the Bible, like Genesis 9, okay? But when you're dealing with people in Torah, they think the law of Moses is this eternal system. And it's even in the garden. It's in the creation account. That's where it gets tricky, okay? That's why it's becoming more popular to impose this concept of flesh eating on the text of Genesis 1. But I feel like more people are seeing the conflict, more people than are willing to admit it, but they embrace whichever interpretation favors their lifestyle, no matter how disruptive it is to the nature of a life-giving creator. And another thing is people side with popular ministries. So, and that's why there is there are a few ministries that are teaching this Genesis 1 stuff about Genesis 1 teaches killing and eating animals. there are some ministries that I'm thinking of that people, they are more devoted to the ministry than they are to actually wanting truth. And the sad thing is that's the way it's always worked out. All throughout time, people are devoted to the ministry or the establishment or the church. Okay, have you ever seen that meme that says people are just devoted to church, not to God, or something like that? It talks about how they feel like their involvement with the church is what's going to save them, or they just embrace popular ideology. They feel like they're a part of something big to follow this ministry or that pastor or this person. And when they start getting popular, that's when it can become a problem, because it doesn't matter what spews from their mouth, people will buy it either way. And that's the sad part, is that the people who are teaching this, that Genesis 1:28 and 29 teaches animal sacrifice and eating the animals, same people are teaching that Yeshua is killing these animals right now as we speak in heaven. And so, I mean, it just gets ugly. All right. But like I said, we don't just look at what's in the story. We have to recognize what's missing from the story. Like I said, the clean and unclean, instructions for sacrifice, there are no guidelines. Okay. And if our diet is such an integral part of Torah, then it's strange that we don't find any of these instructions in the creation account. Okay. All right. I'm going to move forward a little bit. Oh yeah, this is funny. Someone that I know who is a part of one of these ministries that teaches this nonsense, they recently shared, or the time that I wrote the book, they recently shared an article of a list of Torah principles to live by. And it was good. I mean, for the most part, it's probably like 9 out of 10 things were good of what they said. But one of the bullet points on their list was, do not eat things the Father did not create to be food. Let me say that again. Do not eat the things the Father did not create to be food. And of course, I knew what that meant coming from their perspective. In their minds, it's talking about don't eat pigs because pigs aren't food. Don't eat lobster because they're the bugs, they're the cockroaches of the earth, right? The cockroaches of the sea, right? So in their mind, they were only referring to some animals, but not all. So, of course, this goes back to the standard for clean and unclean. It's like, it's good that Torah people understand that some animals are not food, but they're only halfway there. It's like, if you can comprehend the idea that pigs are animals, not pork, why is it so hard to believe that cows are animals too, and not beef, right? It's just curious why there's no directive in the creation account if some animals, but not all animals, were created to be eaten by humans, okay? So, and this is why popular Torah, popular Hebrew roots theology, it doesn't make sense, okay? You can see man-made laws, man-made traditions in, if you allow the spirit of your creator to lead you. And I know that's a bold statement. A lot of people are saying, oh, are you saying I'm not led by the Spirit? Well, if you're killing and eating animals and you're teaching that the creator of these animals demands the killing of them, yes, then I'm saying you're not led by the Spirit, because, or at least you're being led by the wrong spirit, because it's leading you to teach that he's a savage, okay? And it's ironic because a lot of these people say they are animal lovers. They talk about their pets, but they ridicule the vegan lifestyle. And one of the anti-vegan videos that was popular from one of these ministries. On that video, they said it's okay to love animals, but not so much that you can't enjoy a good steak. I mean, that's a logical fallacy, guys. Can we say that we love animals if we endorse the slaughter of these creatures against their will? That's not love. People have just fallen from that divine state of, and they've become depraved in their thinking. They're reprobates. Okay? It's like people, they're aware of the morality issue, but they are selective about which animals they show compassion towards. Okay? They get upset over cruelty towards animals if you're talking about pets, dogs and cats. But if you bring up the pets or the animals that they like to eat, like cows, then cruelty towards cows is, I mean, it's just normal. It's normal behavior. It's just a way of life. Okay? For some reason, people have this mindset that dominion over the animals means liberty to kill and grill, whatever sounds appetizing. But the writer of Proverbs, this is good. He talks about how it's the righteous who value the life of animals, while the wicked have cruel intentions. And if you're so selfish that you need to eat the flesh of animals, that's a cruel intention, and you're wicked. Okay? And you're not righteous. According to what Proverbs says, you are not righteous if you endorse the killing of animals. You're wicked and you have cruel intentions. Now, I'm not saying all animal eaters have cruel intentions. A lot of us is just the way we were raised. I mean, for most of society, we were raised to think it's normal behavior. So I think for a lot of people, their intentions are pure. They just don't understand why they believe what they believe. And then there's other people who they play the naive card and they pretend the modern meat industry is somehow within kosher guidelines. But most people neglect the bigger issue that eating animals for survival purposes is largely uncommon. Most people consume flesh out of tradition, routine, preference, convenience, addiction, and most of all, to fulfill that religious sacrament, you got to kill a lamb on Passover because we're commanded to. People do this because they are addicted. Convenience, preference. They kill animals and eat them for all of these other reasons. It's not because they are starving. They're not surviving. It's just tradition. Or they've done it their whole lives. So it's just normal behavior. Some people prefer, I have family who prefers meat. It's like they a few different family members on both sides, me and my wife, they don't feel like a meal is a meal unless it has some type of animal on the plate and that animal is the main course. So it's just foreign to their reality if a vegetable is the main course. And so it's not because animals eating flesh, it's not because people are starving. It's not because people are trying to survive that they eat animals. It's because it's been made available. It's been our tradition, routine, preference, convenience, religion. Okay? And this is funny. I've heard pet owners ask in Torah groups on social media, is it lawful to feed unclean meats to pets? From my position, that's just another logical fallacy. It's no different than thinking, well, it's okay to love animals, but not so much that you can't enjoy a good steak, right? I mean, this is the same mentality. Is it lawful to feed animals unclean meats, right? I've heard a variety of answers to that question because I've seen it posted in Torah groups a few different times over the past couple of years. And I've heard answers in favor of feeding unclean meats to pets. I've heard answers against that idea. A lot of people will say, well, the law doesn't apply to animals, so they can eat whatever they want. But that's not true, guys. Animals were given laws by which to abide. Animals are accountable to Torah, okay? It's hard for us to imagine these days because we're so disconnected from the animal kingdom that they seem like they can't understand anything. But I'm telling you now, the creator of these animals can speak to these animals, all right? And at one time, we could too. And there are still people these days who can speak to animals. I mean, it's like you and your dog. And this is the best example. If you're a dog owner, if you have pets, you understand that you get to know your pet and you develop a relationship with them. You can communicate with one another. You may not be able to speak the Hebrew language together like we were doing in the garden, but you can communicate, all right? Animals can understand the instructions that they were given in the garden to be herbivores, all right? Pets shouldn't eat other animals. Animals should not eat other animals, okay? Whether it's deemed clean by Mosaic law or not. And I think this is really neat, this passage here. I've had it up on the screen forever. It says, lawlessness increased on the earth. All flesh corrupted its way. Like men and cattle, beasts, birds, everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders. They began to devour each other. Lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was evil continually. And God looked upon the earth, behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders. All that were on the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. It's interesting that the example, the reason why they were corrupt is because they corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. Humans and animals were now considered lawless, and they were evil continually. Okay? The book of Jubilees, it's practical for many insights that we don't find in the traditional canon. I've used a few passages in this video from Jubilees, and you know, they had the ability to speak in the original tongue of Hebrew. So, and we've just seen in this video, in some of these passages, the civil environment which humans and animals coexisted. Okay, we've looked at a time when animals and humans, they began to devour each other. It was a turning point. This passage here describes the turning point. It means there was a time when animals gave no thought to consuming the flesh of one another. They understood their commands. They understood their instructions that they were supposed to eat plants. Okay? It's like, you know, I would compare it to, you know, for people who say it's just ridiculous what you're saying, animals can't understand Torah. Well, yes, they can. And they say that because, well, they just have instinct to eat, like they're predators who hunt and eat. It's just a part of their instinct. Oh no, it's just how they were raised. You just read that, you know, all of the beasts, they defied their orders and they begin to consume other animals. Now, not all animals did this. Matter of fact, there are still more herbivores than there are carnivores on the earth. So for the most part, animals do submit to their instructions. I've even read really neat articles where lions or some type of predator doesn't eat meat. They don't hunt. They actually do submit to the design. I saw a really cool video of a dog just munching on a carrot. I mean, animals, it's how they are trained, okay? And I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Let me read something real quick. Verily I say unto you, in the beginning, all creatures of God did find their sustenance in the herbs and fruits of the earth alone. Until what? Till the ignorance and the selfishness of man turned many of them from the use which God had given them to that which was contrary to their original use. But even these shall yet return to their natural food, as it is written in the prophets, and their words shall not fail. I think that's really neat. Even these shall return to their natural food. People or animals are going to go back to the natural order, as it is written in the prophets. Well, what do the prophets say? Here's a familiar passage. I almost underlined the whole thing because it's all so good. What's going to happen in the future? Well, the wolf will dwell with the lamb. You're going to see this. It's that civil environment, that peaceful, no predators, no one animal hunting another. The leopard will lie down with the kid, the baby goat, the calf and the young lion, and the fatling together. A child shall lead them. Can you imagine a child leading a lion? The cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox. The sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp. Can you imagine a baby playing with a snake? Imagine, they give babies rattlers. Imagine it rattling a rattlesnake and that not having to worry about the snake biting it. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. So I think that's really neat what Yeshua was saying up here, that and he knows this prophecy. He says things are going to return to their natural order like it's written in the prophets, and their words shall not fail. So he had this in mind. He knows the earth is going to be restored to that natural order where the infant is given a rattlesnake for a toy instead of a plastic rattler. Okay, it's the same civil environment as described in the creation account. I think I just got a few more things to say, and then I'll wrap this up. A lot of people, they believe that we can prove that animals were created to eat other animals by characteristics like their teeth or the size of their digestive organs. And I'll first say that I don't buy into that, because it's mostly, and you can find examples that favor both sides, whether you're vegan or you're a meat eater. I've seen both sides use examples that prove their point, but I don't believe it at all, because for instance, gorillas, they have these very sharp fang-like teeth that very similar to lions and tigers, but they eat plants. Okay, I don't think the teeth has anything to do with what the Creator designed us to eat. All right, I think like the koala, it has sharp teeth and it eats bamboo. Those sharp teeth were meant to cut into that that shoot or whatever you would call a stem of bamboo. I think it's a shoot. So I feel like the Creator designed certain animals with teeth according to what he expected them to eat in the plant world. Okay, because it just makes sense that sharp teeth would cut into certain plants better. And like humans, we were given fruit to eat, okay? And so we don't need sharp teeth to eat fruit, all right? We have different types of teeth, and then there's the digestive system. And a lot of people say that proves that animals were created to kill and eat other animals. It was a part of their instinctive nature, or it was an attribute of design. Basically, it means that the creator must have envisioned animals this way, to eat other animals. But it's not true, because if it were true, then it poses a problem for humans. I mean, if animals who eat predators, if they are only behaving according to their design, then it only makes humans look even worse. When animals are perceived as creatures that God programmed to kill and eat each other, which they're not, they chose to defy their orders, okay? But when we perceive them as creatures that God programmed to kill each other, then humans are even more savage than animals, because we make the conscious decision to capture, slaughter, and devour their flesh. All right? It's just because of preference, too. So it reveals the difference between animals and humans. They kill to survive, but we kill for pleasure. Animals are really the only ones who kill to survive. These carnivores, these predators, but still, originally, they were designed to eat the plants, the herbs. We looked at that. There was a time when they began to defy their orders, all right? But I don't believe that these predators were originally designed this way. At one point, they began acting against their nature, just like humans, until it came to the point where their behavior, it was just learned as instinctive nature to survive. Just like when we grow up in society today, most of the time, people grow up thinking, oh, eating animals is normal. It's just the reality that we've come to accept. It's no different with animals. As far as instinct goes, a lot of people say that animal behavior, it's different from humans because their instinct removes conscience from the equation. It's like I said, people feel like animals are programmed by the creator to kill and eat other animals. But it ignores that for a time, animals did submit to the instructions originally given in the garden. But they defied their orders, they began to consume one another. So it's true that animals do follow their instinct, but it's no different than humans who have the same behavioral tendencies. Just like we were introduced to a world where humans eat animals, down the line, animals were also introduced after they defied their orders and animals kept multiplying. These predators were brought into a world where their parents hunted and ate other animals. So it's, as far as instinct goes, it's just how you were brought into this world and raised. It's just normal behavior, but it doesn't change the fact that it's not how we were designed. And the fact that most of the population consumes animal flesh, that's living proof that humans also live by instinct. Like I said, most of us were raised to consume meat, so we've accepted this as normal behavior. And it's no different than animals. Their instinct just reflects how they were raised, just like humans. So it's as simple as that. But like I said, these prophecies, what we looked at, what Yeshua said, it's only a temporary behavior. In the bigger picture, in the end, it's described no differently than the beginning of our story, veganism. Or let's say the biblical plant-based, the garden diet. It's the only way that creation can live in harmony together without death, bloodshed, cruelty. And like I said, in the gospel that I just read, Yeshua said that in the end, even these shall yet return to their natural food, as it is written in the prophets, and their words shall not fail. So, and I read that passage in Isaiah. And, a lot of people, they argue that Isaiah 11, the passage that I read, it only demonstrates that animals will live in peace together without violence. It has nothing to do with the sacrificial commands for humans. Have you ever heard that argument? Yeah, people will say anything to show their allegiance to these man-made sacrificial laws. So they contend that the death of animals will still occur in the kingdom, that picture that we just read in Isaiah only pertains to animals being civil towards one another, and that humans will still kill and eat animals. Okay? Once the kingdom is restored, the resurrected humans will be doing the killing. But like I said, it hardly sounds like peace for animals if they're still being killed by humans. In Revelation, we looked at this in another video. It said there will be no death. Thy kingdom come. What was the video that I did? I think it was called Thy Kingdom Come, or Will Animal Sacrifice Be Restored in the Future Kingdom? That was the video. I did it last week. We looked at that verse. It said there will be no death in the future kingdom. No death is no death. It's not. It's kind of like what people do with thou shalt not kill. Oh, that's only for humans. It doesn't mean thou shalt not kill animals. People do the same thing with that verse in Revelation where it talks about there will be no more death. Oh, that's only about humans. Animals will still die. But like I said, it hardly sounds like peace for animals if they're still being killed by humans. So, like I said, that passage, it only provides a partial glimpse of the post-resurrection eternal realm. But I would argue that the entire purpose of that text, Isaiah 11, what we looked at here, the purpose is to show that the Father will restore creation back to its original state. And to say that animal sacrifice will continue in eternity is just contrary to the theme of immorality. If there still remains death in the future, suffering or bloodshed in the kingdom of God, then we can't say it's perfect or that creation has fully been restored to its original state. Okay? We know the Father cares for the well-being of animals, even in the law of Moses. We have multiple examples of compassion. All throughout the scriptures, the Father shows concern for animals. He forbids cruelty. I have a list of a lot of these passages from where they're found. I can let me scroll down real quick. I can't remember where I have that list of passages from the Torah of all of these instructions for the well-being of animals. But there's somewhere. Anyway, it makes sense why the Creator spent an entire day creating food options for humans and animals. He spent an entire day. He brought forth these plants, and then he created animals and humans. Okay? I'm going to read one more passage, and then I'm going to wrap it up. The Wisdom of Solomon, the first chapter. God did not make death. Neither does he delight when the living perish. For he created all things that they might have being. I think that speaks pretty loudly, and it covers, whether or not we were designed to kill. It just doesn't make sense. And we just need to start using our logic. We need to allow the Spirit to speak to us. Despite any of these texts that have been corrupted, a lot of these scriptures that we show our allegiance toward that don't make any sense in the context of creation. I think we just need to be a little more discerning when it comes to the sacrificial system. We need to really put things into perspective in the context of creation. So thanks for watching, guys. I know this was a long video, but I think I have 2 more videos to do to wrap up this this chapter 3, the context of creation. Later videos, they will be a lot shorter. This is probably the longest one. So thanks for watching. Give it a like and share it. And I'll talk to you next time.